This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guy Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. I'm back in action after a week at the Bassmaster Open. I was going to have regularly scheduled shows that ran during the week, but then I got the type A flu and battled through last week. Wasn't able to do recorded shows, but we're back and we've got a lot to talk about. We're actually going to talk a little bit of hockey with the big USA-Canada game that went down last night, and it looks like there's going to be a rematch on Thursday night, and it I don't know. I think there might be something there. I mean, we have the Team USA Bassin where they go and they compete internationally, but I think you look at it, the reigning angler of the year is Canadian with Mr. Johnston. There's a lot of Canadians on the Elite Series, and there's I think you could do like a North American Cup, where you do a best of 5 series and you alternate between the best Americans and the best Canadians. And you know what? I think it would be a crapshoot as to who wins that. You can go down and do some American stuff. You could go up into Canada, do some smallmouth stuff, some grass stuff. I think there's some potential there. And we'll talk about that later. We also had I titled the show The Weirdest Bassmaster Open in History. And bar none, I think it was the oddest. It was a one-day shootout with cancellation on days 1, which got canceled at around 7:30 after all the boats were in the water. Then we fished on day 2, and then they preemptively canceled day 3. We'll talk to a couple anglers about that. We have BTL regular Darold Gleason, who's going to be on the show for a little bit. Then he's got to get him out of there. He's already about 3 Bloody Marys deep and has a big golf tournament today. So we'll let him go. And then Garrett Paquette, who had a second place finish in that Open, almost 24 pounds. Then he was a late boat draw. They did some really funky stuff with the boat draws there. Crazy weather. That was won by Chris Miller at like 28 and change. A lot of drama that went on at the MLF Bass Pro Tour on the Harris chain. A lot of familiar names you had. I mean, it was like an old school mid 2000s shootout. You had Big Show that was up there. You had Bobby Lane that was up there. You had Mark Davis that was dragging a stick bait. You had guys not using forward facing sonar. Bobby Lane gets the win. We had him on when he made that big career switch. You know, he went from the BPT to the Opens, back to the BPT, gets the $100,000 win. He's currently practicing for the Invitationals. It's coming up this week on the Kissimmee chain. We're doing a special BTL on Thursday at 10 a.m. Central Time, following day 4 with Frank Scalish, where the beast himself, Bobby Lane, will be on to talk about that victory. We got fantasy fishing. We've got the Elite Series that's kicking off on the St. Johns River this week. We had a massive social media fight between 2 anglers at all sorts of stuff that went on that we'll get on in the second half of the show. But let's bring on, right there it says it. He is the president of the 12-Pound Club, the one and only Darold Gleason. Daryl, thanks for jumping on BTL from your permanent home now.
Yeah, man, we're doing the RV thing for a while. Sold our house on Toledo Bend, but we're parked up here at the Cypress Bend boat launch, where all the big tournaments go out of, and we're here for a little while.
So what's the game plan? Is this like a semi-permanent? Are you like ever going to get another house, or are you going to be one of those like Travel Channel people who are like RVers for life now?
No, we're just I don't know, maybe we're going through midlife crisis. We're so me and my wife didn't have children, just me and her and our dogs, right? So I feel like this is the first time ever we're actually living like people probably thought we should, no kids, no worries, just go. So we're just kind of doing the gypsy thing for a little while, and then we'll decide where to settle, where we're going to settle down. I can't imagine Toledo Bend, but my wife doesn't like the forecast this week.
Yeah, it is scheduled to be fairly cold. So I titled I titled this show "The Weirdest Bassmaster Open in History." You fished a bunch of these things. We fished a bunch. Is this just the oddest, most bizarre week that you'd ever seen in a Bassmaster Opens tournament? It's specifically to kick the year off in a division where every day is super important.
Yeah.
Weirdest week. Are you guys switching internet?
We will if it does it again. It's kind of acting a little funky. We're in the woods here, man. How about the weirdest takeoff?
Yeah.
Like I got there, after they flighted, I took off at 8:50 and I got there at like 8:00. And I don't know, it was just eerie feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So they sent an email out, and I'll say this before we get into it. When it comes to weather delays, it is a no-win situation for Hank, for the people at Bassmaster. I have no issue with the cancellations on days 1 or 3. Could we have probably taken out and gotten in day 3? Yes. Do I understand that Bassmaster has to worry about 250 people that with a shortened day? Do they have the live or then? Yes, that is a no-win situation. I am totally okay with Bassmaster erring on the side of caution on that. Would we have had a 3-day tournament in 1995 with guys taken out in 18-footers with 150s, just absolutely surfing them? Absolutely. But guess what? This is 2025. It's not the mid-90s. It's not the early 2000s. If you look at any other sport, as it progresses, safety becomes more and more of a bigger issue. So I applaud that Bassmaster made that tough decision. It was a pain in the ass to get everybody in the water, or 80% of the guys in the water on day 1. And then Hank went out, observed the conditions, came back in, they canceled it. And then it was an absolute debacle getting everybody out of the water. Thankfully, I was a late boat draw then. I never even put in the water. You didn't either. You were making homemade bread, walking the dogs, eating a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit.
Yeah. Pro move. I didn't launch on day 1. I sat there by the pavilion and waited, and I saw Hank when he come back in. He actually, he did all he could. He even took a boat ride to see how bad it was, right?
Yeah.
And when he come back, I couldn't hear what he said. I just heard he sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher down there. Wah, 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 wah,
yeah.
wah.
I had 2 guys on the water that said canceled, and I was out of line and gone.
Dude, people come running up the hill because it was such a cluster putting in that morning. People come running up the hill. It looked like the last scene in Happy Gilmore, where he's running away with the jacket and all the fans are chasing him. Like, they come running up. My wife's like, "Oh my God, was there a bomb scare?" And I'm like, "No, they're trying to get loaded. Let's go back to the camp."
Yeah, it took over 2 hours to get everyone out of there. But explain what they did when they said flighting. So the key then when it becomes a one-day shootout is, if your first flight, you take off at 7 a.m. It takes about 45, 50 minutes to take all 250 boats out. So like me and you had like a 5 p.m. check-in. I think I had a 5:10 check-in. So Bassmaster looked at it, and I guess they do this on day 3 of the Elite Series, but this is after everything has been, they've had 2 days of competition. So where Bassmaster said, we want to make sure everybody has 8 hours to fish. So flight 1 that took off at 7 and checked in at 3. So boats 1 through 10 or 1 through 20, whatever it is, 1 through 20, there were 14 flights. They took off at 7. Then they waited 10 minutes. Then they took off flight 2. Then they waited 10 minutes. Then they took off flight 3. In theory, it gives everybody 8 hours, right, Daryl? In theory.
Right. Come help. We're going to swap real fast, Matt.
Okay. So in theory, it gives everybody 8 hours to fish. But when you start flighting like that, it means that I took off at 9:10 in the morning and I checked in at 5:10. So I got 8 hours, but the guys who took off at 7 and checked in at 3 also got 8 hours, but they got the lake to themselves for 2 hours. All I ask for is fair and equal. I know it's a no-win situation for Bass, and we're back with Daryl here, but dude, that did not sit well with me, Daryl, was the fact that, just strictly on a boat draw, now we all get the same time, but there's a whole group of guys that get to fish for 2 hours without any pressure at all.
Yeah, and that was the part. So, again, I'm all like, it was just, I call these, I try to be a pro about it, right? And you roll the punches. Just unfortunate for both the staff, the anglers, everybody, but that's always been the deal. I fished a lot of one-day derbies in my life. There's BFL boys right now. They're like, wait, what do you mean? You drew boat 180 and you only got an 8-hour day, like that's always a trade-off. You don't get first
Yeah.
shot at the finish, but you get a long day, right? And look, dude, it was just a weird deal. And I know some guys caught them in the later flights. Kudos to them.
We're going to have Garrett Paquette on in the second half of the show, Daryl. He was literally in front of me at takeoff. He waited till 9:10. He took off right in front of me. Dude came in with 24 pounds, finished second. Right. So, we're going to have him on to talk about how that went down. But I don't know is there a right, like how should you have said, hey, I know you're getting a little bit shorter day, but you guys get the pick of the litter. You get the first spot. You get to come in. We get to stay out 45 minutes. We're there at 8 o'clock instead of at 9:30. And that kind of evens it out. I don't know what the right thing is. The odds that this happens again, probably very small.
Probably slim. And I agree. I don't know the solution to it. But in the end, I felt like calling balls and strikes. Like the early flight wasn't affected at all. The late flight was, could be affected. If you were on an early morning bite, you didn't get like 20 minutes of it. Like it was over. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen again. Playing hindsight, playing armchair quarterback, I just kind of wish we'd have looked at it and said, hey, let's reschedule May or June, get our tournament in. Because like I'm fishing both divisions. So I'm kind of swinging in this one, especially being at Rayburn. Like I'm doing the proverbial swinging of the bat, being a retard, like going for giants, Man, a lot of guys, like their season's done. One bad day, like, it's a lot of pressure to try to adjust in one day, especially with all the, weather conditions we had. Water rose, water got muddy, all those type things. It's a lot of pressure on dudes. And so, I hate to see that for them. But again, like, I sound like a politician. Like I understand it's a hard call for bass, hard call for everybody. But I always feel bad for the anglers, like we're the ones in the end that are the most affected by this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So
and obviously the guys who went out, who made the adjustments, who caught it, Chris Miller catching a big one on a Nessie, one of those soft glide baits, catching the rest on a minnow. Like, it's one of those things where if you caught him, you're like, dude, you had one job to do. It was go out and it was to catch 17 plus and stay in it. Yeah. And, I had 12.
That's key to our world we're living in now too, though. You don't go catch 13 or 14, get paid. You got to have 17 plus.
Yeah. 100%.
Like, could you feel, I felt like my internal clock all day it just didn't feel, I felt sped up, but also felt like, I don't know, I felt like I overslept for the first time ever or something and showed up.
It was weird.
It was just
put in at 8:50 in the morning, Daryl.
But, in the end, it is what it is. And kudos to the dudes that went out late numbers and like overcome that and caught them. Like, good for them. And those that went and caught them early, kiss my butt, man. I hope the next tournament you draw late and got to sit there and watch.
I think there were quite a few guys that also caught him late. I don't know. It was a weird event, but a quarter of the season too. A quarter of the season with the 4 headed to it. But moving forward, you got a big golf tournament today.
Yeah, so I'm a member here at Cypress Bend Golf Club, and this is a fun one. I've only got to play in this one time, so it's like a member tournament. And this is you don't get this in fishing. This is the one-man scramble.
What is that one-man scramble?
2 shots, 2 drives, 2 fairway shots, 2 chips, 2 putts, 2 everything.
Really?
It's literally a scramble by yourself. Lots of swings. Yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
What hole? So Cypress Bend, that's the one where when you take off from Cypress Bend, where the ramp is, where everything takes off on Toledo, and you go straight across, there's like that hole that's right on Toledo Bend. Yeah. What number is that?
That's 11. The first one you would come to 11. But
that one is like always a shot when it's windy.
Yeah, and what's cool is they did a course reconstruction a couple years ago, and they took out a bunch of trees, moved some more holes along the lake. So now it's really a lake course. And the windy days, dude, it's odd some of the holes what you hit on certain days. Like the little par 3, I proposed to my wife on hole 17. It's like it can play like 80, 90 yards most days. But like there's times when it's blowing out of the north, it's like plays 150 yards. It's wicked. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, we're gonna go do that today. It's Monday, it's President's Day, so we're gonna go do that. Maybe do a little make sure my wife can't hear me. Maybe do some day drinking with the boys, and like really like put last weekend. Like I had my day of mourning Saturday. Just put that out of the mind. I was kind of bullheaded and like swung for the fence, and didn't fish that tournament like I would a normal tournament. So
yeah, it is what it is. So while we're on the topic of golf, you called me. I haven't said this to any. My dad knows about it, and my girlfriend knows about it, and that's it. But it
cool.
sounds like the highlight of my year after this first event. I mean, I'm not out of it. I finished 100th out of 236. I mean, I still got to do some catching as you drink your tomato juice there. But the highlight of my year, you called me like a month ago, and you're like, "Hey, I got somewhere I need to take you."
Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago. We just got an interesting opportunity come our way and you can see I'm wearing the merch, right?
Hold on, I forgot about this.
You got a little something?
There's the old course hat.
Oh, I like it. Yeah, I actually got your ball mark still hidden in my drawer. Yeah, so we're going to get to go to Augusta. So I've got to go last year and see a practice round. Really cool. But if you like golf at all, honestly, even if you don't, you would just I don't know, it's hollowed ground. So we're going to get to go to a day at the Masters, the Friday part of the tournament. And since you missed Clarks Hill, I told you I'm going to bring my boat. We're going to go get a day in Clarks Hill because I think you would love that lake. It's like everything you like in fishing lives there in Clarks Hill. So
we're going to do a guys weekend. We're going to go fish Clarks Hill, and then we're going to go to the Masters on Friday, like the actual competition, and get to watch it.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool since
Mo's killing it right now. He is an all-star.
He is my wife's dog. He never pays this much attention to me. He's literally going to sleep. Yeah, look. So like these little, my Mater juice I'm drinking here, the little glass it's in, that's what you get your beer in. Like everything there is so cool, dude. The pimento cheese sandwiches, like that whole deal. It's all awesome. But you buy beer and you get it in this cup here. And it's not, you don't buy like Coors Light or Budweiser or whatever. They have a domestic, non-domestic. That's what it's called. And you get their beer and you get to keep all these cups. So I'm curious to see how many cups we come home with.
So can we do BTLs after Clarks Hill and then after our day at the Masters?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think that'd be a fun revival. I think you're really going to like Clarks Hill though. It's a cool lake.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's got the stripers in it. It's got multiple species of bass. It's got pretty much everything. And that time of year, they should be biting pretty good.
Should be biting. I was there last year around that time of the year, and you could do whatever you wanted to. You could play your minnow game, or you could go on the bank and look at them. Really cool lake. It kind of reminded me like the only one lake I've been to close to it would be Hartwell.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I can get on board with that.
Yeah, but the population seems to be like booming. But I thought you would enjoy that little boys weekend. It'd be fun.
Yeah, no, that'll be awesome. That's right after the week after the Division II on Norfolk.
Yeah.
And then don't you have a Division I tournament the week following that?
Yeah, I'll have to drive back Saturday because since I'm doing both divisions, I get to go to the Tom Bigby Waterway and go run around there and try to catch some fish.
You gonna minnow there?
Dude, I hadn't even researched it yet.
Is there anywhere you can't minnow?
No. And that's what I said when I was bullheaded now. Like I have I went to Tackle Addict the other day and spent like way too much money. There are other anglers in there that they actually stayed to see what my total was going to be because my basket was overflowing. Yeah, in this day and world, you got to minnow, son, or you got to be John Cox. I'm clearly not John Cox, so I'm going to minnow. But I don't know at the Bigby, if you'll be minnowing, but live scope. It's going to play in everything we do. As long as it's, it just does. So
it is true. What time's what's your tea time this morning?
Oh, not till the tournament starts at 10, but see, I got to go an hour early. You got to have a one or two beers before the round, do some chipping putting. Like it's a little cold this morning, so you got to get acclimated, but it's supposed to warm up and be beautiful today. So
didn't you recently just win like a club championship or something? I
did. Yeah. It was cool. Yeah.
What club was that?
The same one here at Cypress Bend.
Oh, really? Like, was it the round of a lifetime? Like, was it like when you have a good round like that, is it similar to a day on the water where like all of a sudden you get on and it just starts rolling and you're making good decisions and you're boxing 4s and 5s and then you catch a jet? Is that how the round goes too when you're playing that well?
It normally would, but like we played it in the fall and like we were talking about how it was like super windy and it was really tough conditions. It mirrored my career. I felt like, where it was like grinded it out. Like I had like 8 bogeys on the front 9 and I'm playing with a guy that was 1 shot behind me. And after 2 holes, he's up like 2 or 3 and like grinded it out. And then something happened on the back 9. I caught fire and played well. And I got my little name on the trophy, kind of felt special. But I really wanted to get my name on that other trophy last weekend.
You got a shot today?
Yeah.
Like, are you one of the favorites going into it?
I put odds on me. No, there's like some good dudes that I play golf with. They're all a lot older than me though, like a bunch of old decrepit dudes. I look like Kramer and Seinfeld when he was doing karate with all the kids. You know what I mean? They're all in walkers and oxygen tanks and all that. But
good Lord, talking crap already before the round even starts.
I just hope one of them get to see this. No, it's fun, dude. Like this is fishing is something I still love and passionate about, right? But I love to go play golf. It's like my getaway. So this would be my like cleansing from the week, from last week.
Well, I'll let you get to the I'll let you get to the course. Give Mo a couple pats for us. He's been the best BTL dog guest that we've ever had.
I can't believe this is his first appearance. Rowdy's been on here before. Yeah, Rowdy's a little older. He's full on like finishing his nap.
He's the all-star, and Mo right now this has been a very very impressive debut for Mo. Mo's 2 years in to the Gleason family?
Mo's a year and a half. Mo was a little rescue that our vet took him in and just thought he would be perfect for us, and he loves my wife. I cannot believe he gave me that much attention. Like he will not sit by me that long for the rest of the week if she's home.
Well, he had like a little ray of sunshine on him right there.
Yeah, so he just wanted to be on TV. Real sweet little rescue dog. And I saw someone asked how we pull our camper. My wife pulls the camper with a dually, and I use my Toyota and I pull my boat. And that's just our life right now. We love it, dude. It's so much fun. Carefree, gypsies. It's awesome.
You doing any guiding on the Ben this year, or is that something you're just kind of taking a little back seat?
Yeah, it's just kind of taking a back seat. And now at Toledo Bend, they're requiring the captain's guides license, and I haven't had time to go and get that yet. So no guiding for me on Toledo. When I'm home, I'm gonna fish for fun a little bit. Like this week, I'll probably go out and work on some things, and then I'll probably do a few trips here and there at Rayburn and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm really focused on where we're going next, traveling and me and my wife just enjoying life, dude.
Awesome. Well, I'll see you at Kentucky Lake right now. It is it's a mess.
Look at
it's like really high water temps, 30 and straight mud throughout the entire system.
I thought it's supposed to snow like 2 days this week there. I told my wife that, and she's like, no, like she's going to end up making me like go and room with you, and she's going to go to Florida in an RV or something. Like it looks miserable. But
yeah,
hey, we talked about me and her talked about this. We're not so far. We're going to get halfway through the open season. You're not going to spend any money on sunscreen. No, you're not going to have to buy shorts.
No.
I mean, there's a lot of advantages there,
Yeah.
Just freezing our rear ends off.
All right. Well, let me know how it goes today.
Yeah. We'll show out.
One man scramble.
Let's go.
I appreciate it, Daryl.
Later, dude.
See ya. All right. The one and only Daryl Gleason. He had I noticed a full-size couch and a fireplace in that RV. We might have to do, someone suggested here, an episode of RV cribs. So we're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, man who finished second place in the Bassmaster Open to Chris Miller. Chris Miller had 28-10. Garrett Paquette, very familiar name, longtime Elite Series pro, fishing the Opens, Michigan guy. He's been smashing the gigantic smallmouth like all fall until he got frozen out. But Paquette joins BTL when we return. It's BTL on a Monday, February 17th. Back for another full week of shows. We'll be back right after this. Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's two best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit probassadventures.com or email probassadventures@gmail.com. the official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
This is Gamakatsu's new Nano Alpha line of hooks. If it looks familiar, that's because they are. It's the same shapes and sizes in the round bend and the EWG and in the new Horizon head that you know and love from Gamakatsu, but there are a couple new features with this Nano Alpha, which is this little green label that you see on the packaging. First off, 2 times faster hook penetration. That's because of the Nano Alpha smooth coating on it, and also it is 4 times more corrosion resistant. Check it out, Nano Alpha.
I've been using Sunline Shooter for the majority of my career. Millions of dollars made, lots of bass caught, and the gnarly, gnarly stuff. If you need a abrasion resistant, tough fishing line for the really, really mean stuff, Sunline Shooter is for you.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Monday. We're going to bring Garrett Paquette in, and I did not realize this until just now. What's up, Garrett?
What's up, man? Thank you for
Thanks for jumping on BTL. Is this your 3rd consecutive top 10 in a Bassmaster Open? If you go back to last year, I believe you had a 7th place finish on Logan Martin, and then a 4th place finish on the Mississippi River, and then kicked off this year with a 2nd place finish. Is that 3 consecutive?
Yeah, not consecutive, because they were all, we had tournaments in between there.
I didn't know there were tournaments in.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I've been on a good little roll. I think 7 of the last 7 Opens, I think 6 checks, 3 top 10. So we've been on a little bit of a roll here.
All right, so I talked with Daryl a little bit about it. I didn't want to sound like we were like bitching about it, and that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, because so like the way they flighted this deal, we took off at 9:10. They, like, me and you were the first and second boats in the last flight.
Yep.
And then you went out and finished second, $20,000, off to a great start in Division 2, trying to make the top 50 for that EQ. Kind of walk me through what your mentality was, how your day went, and how you were able to catch 24 pounds on a very stingy Sam Rayburn that changed so much from the practice through the tournament.
Yeah, so it was obviously a wild week, something we've never experienced. I think Bass might have said it was their only 1-day tournament that was scheduled for 3 days. I think I might have been wrong, but it was funny. Like, I was driving down there and I realized, hey, this is my 10th year of fishing Bassmaster tournaments. 3 years of the Opens, 3 years of the Elites, and now I'm back on my 4th year of the Opens following the Elites. So I think that helped me a lot. Like, I look at some of the guys that came into this tournament and say this is their first Open or this is the 2nd year they're doing this. The changes that we had and the cancellations and the weather, that, if I was in their position, that would have destroyed my tournament. I mean, mentally, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't like a bunch of changes and, getting off my game. So that would have totally threw me completely off my game. But I think just kind of being around now, and I guess, you can almost consider me a veteran at this point, which is kind of funny. I think
you are a decade in. That's
decade in
status.
So I'm, I was a little just more relaxed, I guess, in that situation. And, I've been doing it long enough where I know you want things to go a certain way, and they rarely do. And you just kind of have to put up and deal with when they're not. And, in this specific situation, because I know we talked a lot before our takeoff because we were sitting at the dock there for 10 minutes. In this specific situation, I had a horrific practice. Like, I was talking to a few people on our day off, our first day off before the cancellation. And I said, this is literally one of the first tournaments that I can remember, out of 10 years of doing this, where I feel like I literally can't win, which is a very humbling feeling, and like realistically, you're never, it's very hard to win. Obviously, I've never won one of these, but there's always that hope of like, okay, if I get this spot and I catch these fish, like I'm on the right deal, or, hey, I caught a 10-pounder or 8-pounder in practice. I just got to go duplicate that. Like my biggest fish in 3 days out there in practice was 3¼ pounds. And I probably caught like 160 fish over 3 days. I mean, I caught a ton of fish. I had no clue on how to catch the right fish to win. I'm coming into this tournament thinking I have the biggest fish I've caught in 3 days. I have to double that and catch it 15 times over 3 days to win this tournament. We know right now you need like a 28 to 30 pound bag, which is what it was to win. So I was, I was in a pretty frustrated place, and I wasn't giving up because, like I said, I know that, practices and everything and all that, but it was definitely an uneasy feeling that I was going to be starting the season, really having to just kind of, pull something out of nowhere. But I think that first cancellation day, it helped me just, kind of like reset. And we had so much rain. I think we had 3 inches of rain there. We had all those big winds. So it kind of made me feel a little better, not necessarily because I thought I was going to go out and smash them, but I knew the lake was going to change for a lot of guys. I knew a lot of guys, that probably did, have a little something going. They were going to be obviously more affected than that by me. Guys were going to show up to spots and be disappointed. All this water got muddy. All this wind blew away my fish. Whereas I didn't have any attachment to any spot or anything on the lake. So I was able to just kind of sit back and, critically think, hey, okay, the wind blew hard here. Maybe this pushed some fish here. And, we had a bunch of rain. So the little bit of fish I caught up in there, just kind of scratch that. That's going to be muddy and cold, and the water's rising. So, maybe some of that deeper stuff goes away, just little things like that. And that's kind of exactly what happened. I started the morning, I had nothing to run to, nothing to race to. So it was just kind of, I was kind of going to treat it like how I fish around the house, where I'm just going to run around the lake and, whatever I come up to first that's available to get onto, I'm going to go fish and go from there. And, you saw it right away. The first spot I pulled up to, really big community hole right by the ramp there. A lot of release fish, no secret. Last time we were here, a lot of guys top 10 fishing around the dam area. I guess you could call that, or the main creek in the bow launch, whatever you want to call it. But, that was one that I had caught just a couple fish in practice, and the wind crashed in there pretty much for, 40 hours straight. So I pulled right in there. I was like, this should be good. And surprisingly, at boat 218, I think there was 3 boats there when I got there, which I figured, I kind of had that idea that I wanted to do that on day 2, because it's a really good area on day 2 once you get a bunch of release fish. But I had no dream of getting there on day 1. I mean, usually there's 10 to 40 boats that fish in the release fish zone in the opens. But, luckily I pulled up in there and just kind of got after it. And I think I caught like a 2-pounder in the first 5 minutes, which kind of got it going. And then 10 minutes in the day, I catch a 6.5. And, I catch that fish, and now I'm thinking, well, man, I just went from hoping to get 12 pounds in 100th place and get out of here and have to catch them in the next 3 tournaments to, I'm 3 2.5s away from possibly a check, and I'm another big one away from, a top 10. And the day just kind of rolled from there. I hung out in that area for, I think, 3 hours, and pretty much had just that 6.5. I caught another 3 and maybe 2 to 2.5 pounders. So anyways, I had like 17 pounds in the first 3 hours. All just throwing, jig head, minnow, Demiki rig, all that good stuff. And then the kid I stayed with, Chris Hellebuck, who also has been on a roll, we work a lot together. And he had a little deal in practice going where he was fishing sand points on the lake, just random sand points. And he was hardly catching any fish, but they were all like 3 to 5 pounds. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind. And now I'm at the point where I have a lot of freedom in the tournament. Hey, you're probably getting a check, or at least you're having a good finish where you're not blowing your season apart. So I was like, you know what, I got half the day here. I'm going to run these sand points, which I did not catch a fish doing at all in practice. But, I knew the potential for a big fish was there, and that fit with the conditions of what we were dealing with. And I thought it would actually get better because we had all that rain. So I figured if there was any fish in the creeks, they'd kind of want to push out toward the main lake. So I started running sand points. First one I pull up on, dude, I catch a pounder on a jerkbait. That was pretty much my day. That right there, that was 24 pounds. I think I caught another like 212 later in the day, but it all happened pretty fast for me, and really, all on things that I did not have a ton of success with, but they just kind of fit what I thought the conditions of the day was going to be.
Did it ever occur to you that with what you had would be second? Like, I thought there would be a number of 24, 25, 26, 27 pound bags, but when you look at the standings, you were one guy away from going to the Bassmaster Classic in Knoxville.
Yeah, it's crazy. No, I didn't think so. I was kind of doing the math, because I know how it is out there when you have what you have. You're doing the math. You're like, I should be here. Yeah. Like, I was kind of thinking, I was like, I might have 10 grand in the boat. I was like, I might have 7th, 8th place. This might be 10 grand. I'm feeling good. But I didn't think second at all. No, I mean, the tournaments down here, like, it just took 40 to win the Saturday before. And, they've been catching, there was another big tournament there a couple weeks ago, and there was quite a few 25-pound bags. So I thought I needed like another 3 or 4 pounder to maybe get second. I didn't know I was probably like a 7 to 8 pounder away from first, because that would have put me near 30, because I had a 2 pounder still. But no, I didn't think second at all. I thought top 10, which I was ecstatic about. Like, I would have been ecstatic with 80th place. This year, the first 4 tournaments it's just like a little marathon. It's all about just getting to the top 50 and getting into the EQ. So my thing is, I'm just trying to. I mean, obviously you're trying to win. I mean, I'm trying to win more than anybody. I haven't won one of these yet, but my biggest thing is not blowing the season apart. So I just want to kind of survive in advance and get into the EQs and see what happens.
You mentioned being a veteran. You fish in a Bassmaster Classic. You're on the Elite Series for 3 years. Mm-hmm. Now you're back in the Open grind. There's a handful of guys who have fished at that Elite Series level, the BPT level. I mean, they're household names. Like, we were sitting at the burger joint there, and it was like Russ Lane and Randall Tharp sitting behind me. And I remember thinking, like, what the hell are these guys doing fishing the Opens? I mean, like, it's just Russ Lane and Randall Tharp. You're former Elite. You always seem to have a positive attitude when I talk to you. You seem to really embrace that role. I mean, Daryl, who I had on first, he's another guy who worked for 8 years to get to the Elite Series, was there for 2 years, embraced the Open grind again. What has that been like, having been at that level, having fished a Bassmaster Classic, having top 5 deletes, and then having to go back to the Opens and grind your way through it?
Yeah, it's very humbling. I mean, just simply put, it's it's really tough. I don't know if people really know all I fish really poorly on the Elite, so there's no excuses, but I had like a lot of unfortunate things happen that it just spiraled into a really like dark time of my fishing career. My first year on the Elites, I'm last place in the Classic cut. I bombed Lake St. Clair, my home lake, the final tournament. I finished tied for last, and to make the Classic, I lose a tiebreaker. Like, that's how my career starts, right? So I lose a tiebreaker in the Classic. The next year was COVID year, kind of threw me off for a loop. And then the third year just, it spiraled with lost fish, deaths in the family, equipment issues, just everything that could go wrong was going wrong. And just like that, it's like 3 years and you're out,
Mm-hmm.
And I was on such a roll getting in there. You just kind of take it for granted. Like, oh, you come in, you tear up the Opens, you start the Elites, you finish second, you make 5 to 6 checks, this is how your life's going to be. And just as fast, 2 years later, you're off. So, and when that happened, I was like, all right, I just got to reset here. And even because I was still fishing the Opens during the Elites, and it was kind of an annual thing that, I would be top 5 to 10 in the points of the divisions I was fishing. So I go back in the Opens. I'm like, all right, I just got to kind of bump it up a notch, and we'll be good to go. This might be a 1 or 2 year thing, which is crazy thinking, not looking back at it. But, I thought you just kind of bounce back for a year and that'll be that. And I go the first year and I actually have a pretty solid Open season. But that was when it was 9 tournaments, but the 3 divisions is what qualified. Actually, I think maybe 3 overall qualified. And I think I finished like 9th or 10th in the overall points. Never really threatened.
I think they took the top 3 out of each division and then the top 3 in the overall.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the year Porosnik made it and that.
Yeah. So when I did that, never really threatened any top 3, but had like a really solid season, just kind of like how I was fishing. So then the next year they go to the EQ format, which is top 9 in points. And I'm like, okay, so this is like, we'll get through here, right? I've kind of been in this situation, or I've kind of been in this range the my whole career here. So we'll do these 9 and we'll get through. And that's the year, obviously, that, all those guys came through, Trey, JT, all the big boys came in. So that was a pretty tough year. I mean, we all got smoked pretty bad the year. I had a really bad year.
That was like halfway through the year. That, at least for me, that was like halfway through the year is when I realized, okay, like these guys aren't going to let up, and there's no way to catch them.
Yeah, that's what it. Yeah, and part of it was like when I was fishing that year. I mean, that was just ridiculous. That's going to be the best class for a long time. But I'm fishing that year, and then it's really starting to get to my mind. You're like, man, are you slipping? Like, you're just starting to fall behind, and this, and then they make the elites and they do what they do on the elites. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Like that was just an exceptional class. And then we go to last year, and last year I start off terribly again. I think I had like 160th and 280th or 70th, something like that. And now you're like, okay, like there's just maybe you're never getting another chance at this. Like it just is what it is. And then I kind of get on a good stretch there. I think I cashed 5 straight, 2 top 10s, and just kind of ran out of steam at the end. And of course, at the end, like I have a glimmer of hope. And then we have the Hartwell tournament. It cancels. We lose half the field, which I need a big field because I'm still out like 50 points. So it's like, man, I just like, it's like every time you get close, something happens, But no, and now here we are again. But it feels funny. Like every time I sign up for the Opens, you kind of feel like you're like, what am I doing? Like this is realistically, and this is going to maybe be controversial. This is probably the hardest check in bass fishing. That's not to say like this field is as deep as the Elite Series or, maybe even BPT. But just the sheer number of anglers, we got 235, we're paying out 20% of the field. And then on top of that, you're not dealing with $10,000 checks, right? The money's a little worse. So every time you sign up, you're like, man, this is just, it's kind of silly. Like you're putting yourself in this really tough position. The money's not as good as, go fish Tackle Warehouse, go fish MPFL, go do some of these other deals, even the Toyotas maybe is, a better way financially. But at the bottom line, like I'm in fishing to test myself against the best in the world. Like that's why I'm here. And that's why I'll fish bass. In the Opens. I think this is an awesome challenge, and then try to make it to elites. I think that's the best field of anglers in the world right now. I think that's, pretty safe to say at this point. So that's where I'm at. I'm in this for the challenge. So as long as the best challenge is right here, this is the route I'm going to take as long as I can do it.
You mentioned Lake St. Clair, your home lake. If you follow you on social media, I know you catch a ton of giant smallmouth. It seems like over the past year and a half between St. Clair and 1,000 Islands, Ontario, heck, even throw Mille Lacs and Leech. You can throw what we're about to see at Kentucky Lake. You can go to the TVA. Like, look what just happened at Pickwick with those giant smallmouth that are in the Toyota series. Are we in the golden age of smallmouth bass fishing, Garrett? Has there ever been a time period when you combine the health of fisheries across the country with the technology and the angler knowledge? Has there ever been a point in the past 60 years where guys are catching more and bigger smallmouth than right now?
No, absolutely. I mean, this is a golden age. Like I would be interested, but what you said is key, right? We're in a kind of we're in a good mix of the forage is right on the ice places, the fish are big, and the technology, and it's the knowledge of the anglers, right? All 4 of these things are kind of coming together. It's hard to say because obviously I wouldn't say we're dealing with the biggest fish, maybe ever. I mean, I do remember like Lake Erie would put out some 8 and 9 pounders, 20 years ago. Obviously Dale Hollow has a world record. I think they caught a lot of big ones back then, way before our time, of course. But as far as fishing goes, yeah, like it's getting ridiculous. The guys, it used to be like kind of funny, guys from the South would go up north and just be like completely confused on what to do with smallmouth fishing. And, there's just so much knowledge out there. There's so much history you can learn from, watching old tournaments, getting on YouTube, whatever you want to do, and then combine it with, specifically forward-facing sonar and, the Lake Master mapping or whatever mapping you guys use. That combination is just deadly. We're in the kind of the golden age of like we're exploring the lakes and kind of getting to areas where we probably haven't been able to with better equipment. And the fisheries are really healthy as well. I think you're seeing the, catching really, obviously, guys are going to say it's, that's not the case, but we're now in the, we're in a good 20, 30 years of just strictly catch and release essentially for bass fishing. So a lot of these fisheries are getting really healthy. So yeah, we're in that good combination, and it's probably not going to last, too much longer. They're going to cycle down. I mean, they can't just keep going uphill like this, but the last 4 to 5 years and probably the next, 3 to 5 years, hopefully are going to be pretty special.
Do you guide at all?
I guide. Yeah. Yep. Like St. Clair.
Yeah. So if people want to get out with you on Lake St. Clair this year, yeah. I mean, it's what's an average day? Like when do you start an ice out there? Like what's an average ice out day at St. Clair?
I used to book a lot of like early Aprils. And I've kind of gotten away from that because you never know when the ice is going to come out. Generally we can fish like at end of March, early April. If guys are coming from out of town, I'd probably push them back a little bit just because some years, like this year we have right now, I'd be surprised if I'm fishing early April, but
June.
Yeah, it might be June, right? But no, yeah, generally like third week of April, it kind of gets to the point where you can go fishing every day. And that first period from when I can fish to like Memorial Day weekend, let's say, I mean, the average day for then is 60 to 100 fish. 23 to 25 pounds every day, all fun fishing. I'll throw in a swim bait, jerk bait, crank in. It's just ridiculous. And then it kicks off or it slows down a little bit from there once you get into the summer and the fish kind of move offshore and spread out. But it's like, I'm so spoiled to be where I'm at. Like I do not envy the guys that guide on Gunnersville or, some of these other places. Not that those aren't great fisheries, but they're very specific fisheries, right? They're getting to the point where, you need to make the right cast with the right bait. St. Clair, you have a little bit more leniency. So, it's nothing that if you've never bass fished before, you should still come up there and expect, 20 to 40 fish a day, every single day, all year long.
Best way to get a hold of you, just shoot you a DM or message you on Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, G Paquette Fishing. Send me a message and we'll set that up.
I got you. We have a lot of shared sponsors. It's funny. I look at your boat, Gabagatsu, AFCO, boat, like the whole 9 yards. What has that been? How has been the response for your sponsors grinding in the opens after obtaining them in the Elite Series? And that it seems like you're one of the guys who's maintained a lot of those 3 years into the opens.
It's been really good. So when I got cut from the Elites, I was really considering going to a different tour. And I just talked with them. I'm like, hey, what do you think if I do this? This might be a little better financially. I'm not sure. And, a lot of them told me like, we're kind of going to treat you the same either way. Now that you're not on the Elites. So, whichever way you want to go is fine. But, when I heard that, I was kind of surprised. I was like, wow, they hold a lot of value in the opens. That's what it was to me. I thought it wasn't going to be that way. So then that was a no-brainer to stick with bass. But it's been really good. I've lost a couple here and there, but it wasn't because of like, anything more like a company got bought out and they had to slice their marketing, just little things like that, just simple business. But no, I've been very lucky. I mean, I'm very fortunate. Like you see some guys and it kind of goes away, but I try to work hard for them and do what I can and just stay out there, which isn't as easy as it was with the different platform. But it's a good feeling that, you're not at the same level that you were, but you're getting you're feeling that same support that you had. So that goes a long ways. And, that keeps a positive attitude. It keeps you wanting to get out there and grind and, do your job and, try to get back to where you should be.
Mm-hmm. You still got, so you're 10 years younger than me. So you've been doing this for 10 years. So you started fishing the opens when you're what, 21 years old?
21, I think.
Yeah. You're like 30 now. You're married now, right?
Yep.
Like married. You've experienced everything. You still have the same passion for tournament fishing. In your opinion, where is tournament fishing? I know that's a popular question that's getting asked on a lot of podcasts and a lot of shows now, but you've kind of experienced the whole gamut. You've grown up with it, starting this in 2014, 2015. What are your thoughts on tournament fishing as a whole? Are we healthy? Is it sick? Do there need to be changes? Do you like the way it is?
So what I've noticed since I've done it is, let me think. I got into fishing really hard when I was 16. And I was like ahead of my generation, kind of. Like, I think most people my age, they probably, maybe went through high school or got through college, and then they're like, okay, I like fishing, I'm going to get into tournament fishing. And I think, so I kind of got ahead of, not everybody, but I was one of the younger ones in my age. And I think, if you look now, you're getting a ton of young talent. I think it's scaring the industry, right? Because it's a little uncomfortable how good the guys are that are coming in. I know it's scaring me when I go out there. I mean, I'm looking at like 70 guys I've never heard of that are just starting out, and they're all just unbelievably good. But you're starting to see the first, like, my generation was not the first. This is the first generation of, these, I'd say 25 years and younger kids that have dedicated their life to fishing. So you're seeing just an insane amount of talent getting dumped in here, and it is, I guess, controversial because some guys are getting pushed out that, have been around for a long time. Maybe that includes myself, but a lot of guys are kind of getting pushed away because you're seeing what it looks like to see lifetime dedicated anglers, not guys like, for me, my dream, and I think you were the same, right? You played hockey. My dream was to play in the NHL. So I wanted to play in the NHL. I knew it was going to happen. Okay, let's get to fishing. I still have that competitive drive. So now you're seeing people they're dedicating their life to fishing. They're all in, they're doing what it takes. And it's, there's going to be a lot of change. Like, it's, I don't know if change is the right answer. Like, I look at a sport like, I love UFC, for instance, and the fighters are getting so good that there's pretty much turnover, left and right. There's just a new guy the next week, No, no one can hold a belt, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's good or bad for a sport. Is it harder to follow? Is it harder for the leagues to promote? But I think in the end, we should want the best product, which to me is probably the best anglers at the top. So if that's how it has to be, that's how it has to be. But, they might have to change the way they market it, or, how guys market themselves. It is definitely a much more competitive atmosphere than when I got in there. And, there's definitely, I'd say when I fish an open, when I first came in here, if I was a 200 boat open, I'd feel like there's 50 guys in here that, are competing. I'd say there's, out of the 40 checks, there's 70 or 80 guys that have a chance at it. Now it's looking like there's, 120 guys, 130 guys that can win this thing. And out of the 45 checks, 190 of these guys can take it. So
I just scrolled through the top 10. Like, I mean, I went through and I'd heard of some. I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of a lot of guys in the top 20. And then you go and you start looking at them. They're all 20-year-old kids, 20, 21. I mean, at least they looked at, unless it's crazy. Now, that's no knock on it, but it's like, I mean, they have no fear. Right. They have never tasted the bitter pill of defeat. They understand what they're doing. I stood around at that meeting and looked around and went, oh my God, like I'm not only like above average, like I could be these guys' dads at 40 years old. It was unbelievable. I did want to talk about one more thing, shameless sponsor plug. But I want to throw that up on stage right now. And with all of the FFS and the minnow stuff right now, is there a better hook out there than that Horizon Head LG?
I am so glad you asked, because this is what we're going to talk. So I got this guy right here. And there's a million jig heads. There's a million good jig heads. And, Gamakatsu came out with this one. What was it, last May-ish, maybe?
Yeah, April? Maybe. It's been around in Japan for a long time.
Okay. So yeah, this is the LG, and it really goes against everything I believe in. Like, I despise EWG hooks, and you can tell this is off of an EWG hook. The point's a little higher than the eye, which is fine. But I don't know what the deal is with this head. This thing is ridiculous. Like, I have the best place to test jig heads. I have Lake St. Clair. So if it can handle 4 to 5 pound smallmouth all day long, it will catch 9 and 10 pound largemouth. It just is what it is. And that Horizon Head, dude, has completely changed everything for me. Like, we're all getting really big into, the jig head minnow deal. And I just never could get on a head that, wouldn't pull off when I had a big fish, or, you wouldn't bend out a hook and that thing has completely solved that for me. Yeah, if you guys are looking for a head, the only downside is they don't have them in the heavier heads. If you're gonna, go 3/8, you have to, look at some of those other options. But this, like, I threw that 5/32 ounce 3/0 hook, dude. That's what I throw. If I'm throwing a 5 to 6 inch bait, that is like the only head I throw. It's just the perfect weight. The hook's the perfect size. It's ultra thin, strong. It doesn't bend. It is, and the shape of it must just keep them pinned. Like I said, I despise EWG hooks, but not this one. Like whatever it does when it gets hooked in there and locks in, that thing's a real deal. Like that solved a lot of problems.
I ruined more of the LGs trying to get it out. Like when it gets like slightly off center in there and it like disappears into their either eye cavity or brain, it's impossible to get it out without bending it.
Yeah. You'll go through a lot of hooks.
I'm a big fan of that one. I use that one, and then there's also a Japanese one that they actually make in a 7 gram, and a little bit heavier that I use. But I saw that you had that in the gallery, and I've got so many packs of those Horizon heads. If you're just getting into it and you want to know, I get a lot of questions about that DM. Hey, that's the one to start with right there. Like you cannot go wrong on that. You can fit that in a 4-inch bait, a 5-inch bait, a 6-inch bait. It's pretty much the best all around jig head when it comes to minnowing. You can throw it on a paddle tail or a straight tail minnow. It's amazing to me, like all the little nuances that like just a simple jig head like that makes. But what would you say like your bite to land ratio was through practice and the tournament on the minnow?
Through practice wasn't great because I was kind of like, not as focused. So I was setting the hook too early and doing all that stuff. But I'm still like literally not even hook. Hook up to land ratio, practice and tournament. Like I said, I probably caught 160 fish in practice. I didn't catch as many. I caught like 25 in the tournament because I started getting selective. The fish I had hooked, I lost maybe 1 or 2, 0 in the tournament, 0 missed fish in the tournament. In practice, I probably missed, a handful each day from just, kind of being, lackadaisical out there. But dude, the hook up, like if you hook one, like you'll have a few just because fish bite the bait weird in general. Like you'll always miss some fish because they'll get it and you'll set the hook and they'll be gone. But when you actually hook one on this jig head, I think lifetime, if I had to do stats, I'm looking at like 98, 99%. Yeah. Like it is unbelievable. And I pull hard on them. Like that's the one thing is I do believe with Demiki rig, like, it's not like a drop shot to me. I really pull on them hard and I try to get them into the boat and that thing is just ridiculous.
Valid question here, fellow.
I see that, yeah.
Michigander? Is that the correct word?
Michigander, yeah.
Yeah. Ask Garrett if he's ever fished with Connor Hellebuck. He is the not only the Jet started goalie, most likely the Vezina Trophy winner for this year again, but also Team USA goaltender. Have you gotten in the boat with him?
Yeah, we fished.
Like you have? Seriously?
Yeah. So Chris is. I travel with Chris, who's his brother.
Wait. Chris Hellebuck fishes?
Yeah, we travel. He fishes the opens, so.
Connor Hellebuck's brother fishes the Bassmaster Opens.
Yeah, we're roommates.
How did I not know any of this?
I don't know. Yeah, so we're roommates. So yeah, I know Connor well, and obviously he's pretty busy, but we fish, and then me and him every year we do a best of 7 tournament series, local tournament series, which we're 1-1 through the years. He beat me like 4-3 one year. He got me 4 tournurnaments, and last year
there he is, Chris.
Yeah. Last year I absolutely destroyed Connor. I got him 4-1. So, but yeah, Connor is actually, it's funny. Like, obviously he's a good fisherman. He's not obviously like at the highest level because he doesn't have the time to, but he is such a competitor that like, it's hard to beat him. I'll just put it that way. So it's fun. Yeah. So we do a best of 7 each year with local tournaments and they're a lot of fun.
I don't think people understand how many bass fishermen or how many fishing enthusiasts are hockey players. Because there's so many people that are just anglers up in Canada, and it's still 43% of the NHL are Canadians. A lot more in the minor leagues are Canadians too. But during the off season, there's a lot of passionate hockey players who really like to fish. Oh, I mean, a way more than you would realize.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, because that was what surprised me, like meeting him. You started realizing he's like, yeah, I fished with this guy, you know, Bufflin showed me this. I'm like, oh, these guys fish. This is crazy. So, and I know Gussie, you know, and the Minnesota guys.
Yeah. Owen Nolan was a big fisherman.
Yeah. Like they're all about it. So it's pretty cool.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate the time. Congratulations on a second place finish. Like I said, that was very impressive. You, like I said, we took off next to each other and you literally got on pad and then got off pad right away. And I was like, oh, he wasn't kidding. He didn't have anywhere to go. And then when I see you weigh in, I was like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. Like that was a baller move. Like I drove past and looked and I was like, man, there's like no one in this area. And it always plays. And then it sounds like you made some really good adjustments, you know, started off strong and then kind of rolled the dice on it. Good execution. So that's all you can ask for in a one-day shootout.
Yeah. You know, this wasn't the biggest bag I've caught. This wasn't the most fish I've caught in a tournament, but it was probably the best day I've ever fished, honestly. So if I could somehow take this day and put into all my tournament days, I think I'm going to be pretty happy at the end of the year. But it's so hard to, you know, my saying is if you can fish at 80% of your ability in a big tournament, you'll make a career out of it. I mean, it's so hard to be at, you know, 100%. You're looking at guys like KVD, they probably fish like close to 100%, but it's really hard to be on top of your game. But yeah, I was really proud with how I fished, and you know, I guess gotta kind of, you know, it's just funny. You just want to get back out there and keep it rolling, because I know how the momentum swings. They go just as fast as they're, you know, going well, they'll go bad. So I'm ready to get after the next one in 2 weeks here at Kentucky.
Are you still rocking the Douglas rods?
Yeah.
When's the last time you chatted with the world's most interesting angler, Fred Kantawi?
It's been a little bit. Yeah.
I need to give him a call.
Yeah. Give him. It's always interesting.
Yeah, he's probably doing some like lake sturgeon study where he's getting paid to catch him, or finding some sort of exotic flower in the desert, GPS marking it.
This deep of water.
Yeah. Writing a book on steelhead. I mean, the dude is the wildest guy I've ever met in my life. Designed a lot of those models that you use there at Douglas.
Yeah, and a lot of different rods. Like if you look at, I didn't realize he was with so many different companies, but a lot of rods that you guys probably use, you don't realize that this guy's actually designed. So he's a really intelligent, interesting person.
I need to get him back on. I think I did a show with him 2 years ago called "The Most Interesting Man in Bass Fishing." He's a wild one, man.
Yeah.
So, all right, Garrett, I appreciate it. Thank you for jumping on BTL. Yeah, your assistant, I'm going to owe you guys some money. That was way longer than 45 minutes. Paquette charges by the minute for podcasts.
Yeah, after 45 minutes, it's $10 a minute. So we'll get that invoice to you soon.
Well, do it. Well worth it. Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you.
All right, that is Garrett Paquette after his second place finish. We are going to come back. We're going to put a bow on the Open. Talk a little bit more about rules on that. We've got some fantasy fishing stuff. We have a barn burner on the BPT with some epic back and forth social media jawing between two anglers. Is it good for the sport? Is it bad for the sport? Is it indifferent? Is it what we signed up for? I mean, BTL is entertain, educate, and engage. And I mean, this was definitely entertaining. And we see guys in NASCAR throwing helmets and fisticuffs. We saw 3 fights in the first 9 seconds of USA versus Canada. It had the highest ratings of any non-Stanley Cup final game, I think, since 2019. Conflict really drives interest and views. So when conflict in fishing becomes public, is that good for the sport? Is that bad for the sport? Is it indifferent? Is it just is what it is? We'll talk about it all when we get back. BTL on a Monday. Be back right after this.
Beatdown is efficient.
Rock solid.
100% American made. This thing is super tough. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere.
I've ran the Beatdown double stack from Florida all the way up to New York. And the one thing that I know is when I get to my fishing destination, I never have to worry about issues with my graph mount.
Your options are endless with these mounts, but they're steady, they're solid. These are the most reliable mounts on the market, and you can't go wrong with the Beatdown.
When you're ready to hit the water, Denali Fishing has you covered. regardless of your skill level, from beginner all the way up to tournament pro. Denali has rods, reels, and tungsten to get the job done. Check them out at denalifishing.com.
Hey guys, Brian Schmidt here with Spro. I'm going to talk to you about the confidence I have in the equipment I use. You know, I have a charter boat business back home in Maryland. We fish for saltwater fish, and I also fish the Bassmasters Elite Series. So I keep my lights on by fishing. I have to have a lot of confidence in the equipment I use. Spro has me covered from head to toe, saltwater, freshwater, everything in between. A lot of high-end quality product. Spro has you covered.
Everything you need, one legendary brand. Top 100, Strike King.
Gear that just plain works. Cast after cast after cast. AFTCO. Any fish, any water.
Your early morning mentality is your every hour mentality. All gas, no brakes. Focus, purpose, power. Destined for the water, but confident everywhere else. A calming buzz before the storm, truth of nature itself. You can't catch lightning in a bottle. There's a limit out there, but it's not with your gear. Unrelenting power delivery. Unparalleled weight savings. Keeping you on the water, whether you run a 9.9 or outscoping your best 5. In this rare air, there's power in the silence. It's a mindset, thinking only of the things that matter and freeing your mind from the things that you trust.
In 2023, we became a household name in the crappie fishing world thanks to Power Breaks, the game changer. Hey, bass fishing world, buckle up, because you're next. It's going to be fun. Welcome to the next evolution of our product line, Power Breaks Sidekick, designed to install right on your shallow water anchors. We are the first and only fishing brake company to offer a breakaway system. Just like with the Game Changer, the Power Break Sidekick has it as well. And it's not a matter of if you're going to need it, it's when. Power Brakes, the most durable fishing brakes available on the market today. Made right here in the USA with our rock-solid 2-year warranty. Hey, not all fishing brakes are built equally, and you owe it to yourself to find out why ours are different. Power Break Sidekick. Order yours today at mypowerbrakes.com. You'll be glad you did.
All right, welcome back, BTL on a Monday. So I wanted to cycle through all those commercials because at the end, the Power Breaks, Chad, who owns Power Breaks, hooked me up with the breakaway system where I was able to just pop those things off because we obviously can't use them at the Bassmaster Opens. But while I was practicing, for the Opens, if you've been listening to BTL, you know, I have a slight obsession with crappie fishing. And later in 2025, there will be, in addition to, there will still be 4 Bass Talk Lives, regularly scheduled programming, 8:30 a.m. Central Time, Monday through Wednesday, with day 4 on Thursday, and some guide day sprinkled in on Friday. But additionally, there's going to be some dedicated crappie content focused and targeted towards bass anglers who want to learn how to target these gigantic crappie. I've seen more social media posts, more guys targeting them, fishing them. I get more questions than anything else when I post these big crappie. So anyway, that's coming. But the breaks have been big in the crappie world for a number of years. We had Zeke Anderson in, who talked about how, you know, almost all the crappie guys have them. It allows you to stay in good relation with your fish, especially if you're long rodding them and dropping the bottom. So anyway, Chad sends me a text. He owns Power Breaks out of the middle of nowhere that just said, "Hey, we signed you up for March 29th, Crappie Fest on Lake Fork." And I said, whoa. I said, I'm not a crappie tournament guy. I said, I don't do this. Anyway, I guess I'm fishing a crappie tournament on March 29th on Lake Fork, and then headed to Norfolk Lake the day after that. It's a Saturday. This thing's like a couple months away. I haven't talked to Zeke about it. I have absolutely no idea how it works. I think it's a big crappie tournament, like where you weigh in your big crappie, kind of like the Big Bass Bash stuff. I'll be filming it. You guys will be able to watch it. I am in way over my head, and I already have a massive amount of anxiety over this, but I think it's going to be fun. I think I'm going to really enjoy it to go try to catch some massive crappie. So stay tuned on that. I'll be able to spend 2 minutes and slap the power brakes back on the boat and be ready for that, and then pop them off and fish Norfolk practice for that starting the final week. All right, let's talk about this. I don't really know where to go with this, but I don't know whether I feel good, bad, or indifferent about it. First of all, very entertaining. BPT, a stage 2 on the Harris Chain of Lakes, a real throwback old school tournament. I'd say a quarter of the anglers didn't use their forward facing sonar period. We did see some of the anglers that took advantage of the supercharged period, the mega period, whatever. Drew Gill again did it, cash a check with it, but old school top 10 here for the most part. You had Bobby Lane in first, 56.5 on the final day with the 5'10" big fish. It caught him on primarily on like a white flipping bait. There were definitely bass on the beds there. You had Mark Davis in second. It looked like Mark Davis was leading a lot of the day, leading a lot of it, as old school as you can get, dragging a stick bait in Florida, doing Mark Davis stuff. It was really cool to watch Mark Davis. You had Terry Scroggins in fourth. Like if you were to name top 5 guys in Florida in there, definitely Bobby Lane, definitely Terry Scroggins, who are in the top 5. Fletcher Shryock, Ohio guy, but has spent a lot of time in Florida. Obviously Jacob Wall currently leading the angler of the year standings after 2 events. He had a really good Conroe and then backed it up with a 7th place finish on the Harris Chain there. And then down in 9th place, really good to see. And they call him the GOAT on the FLW Tour. Andy Morgan with a top 10, and then Keith Poche rounding out the top 10. So I watched a little bit about this, and I had a lot of people that called and said, well, what do you think about the back and forth on social media between Adrian Avina and Keith Poche? And I'll say this, I've had nothing but positive interactions with Keith Poche in my experience with him. I know that he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's not afraid to say things. He's a controversial angler when it comes to a lot of things and some of the tactics that he's done. I know there's been some controversy surrounding some of his wins, that open win on the Red River. Definitely some controversy surrounding that. In his behalf, Bass did give him a polygraph, which he passed the questions that they asked him in that polygraph. But I'm in the dark when it comes to Keith Poche, because for some reason I've been blocked on all of his social media accounts for like the last 3 or 4 years. So I can't see anything that Keith Poche posts. I don't know why. It is what it is. So I did see the MLF press release that they came out with on their social media that talked that basically I would say is like airing dirty laundry, where apparently Keith Poche said something about him having a camera in his boat and then them taking it out and putting it in the boat of Adrian Avina. It was a statement that says, come to the league's attention that Keith Poche has publicly expressed concern about his on-the-water coverage during the Bass Pro Suzuki Marine Stage 2 at the Harris Chain. Presented by Yeti, specifically Poche stated that MLF has taken a camera from him, and that MLF event top places are guaranteed the start of the day. So that created some drama. And then the fact that camera went to Avina, then Poche, I had to look at my girlfriend's phone to see what Keith had actually said. He's accused Avina of fishing his area. Avina came back with waypoints and said, dude, I'm not that type of angler. You can tell here's where I was going for 2 hours. Then Keith responded with, anyway, the whole thing took 10, 15 minutes of back and forth between them on social media. And it got me thinking that was probably like the most consecutive social media. I'm watching both of them. I'm interested in how it went on. And I don't know what to think about it, because just as much as it was fun, you know, seeing if Mark Davis could pull off an old school victory, or whether a Florida guy like Bobby Lane was going to win, or whether you'd see Terry Scroggins with the comeback, or whether Jacob Wheeler would rise to the occasion and get another win in the first two and take over the Angler of the Year League. I also got invested into this kind of back and forth between Keith and Adrian. Then you start calling guys, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? And then, you know, the Daytona 500 was on. I mentioned the hockey between USA and Canada, and the reason it got such was because of the friction between the two. I don't want to say like hatred, but definitely the competitive nature of it. And isn't part of what we're doing here is to be entertained, and the most entertaining thing is a conflict. Now, I don't think either angler, Poche or Avina, were overtly or obviously disrespectful to each other. Yeah, they called each other some names, but I thought that it was a very civil yet to the point and interesting, where one guy had one side, another guy had another side. They had a comeback on that. Then you throw the whole MLF thing in with them taking the camera out of the boat, but it got me interacting with MLF, with on the water coverage, and with multiple social media accounts in it for 15 to 20 minutes. Everybody kind of picked a side. And like you said on this, when you have a side, when you have an angler, you become more invested in them. You're more likely to support them, to follow their career. It generates interest. You know, when there's a fight in the pits between two NASCAR drivers, that always makes it. When there's 3 fights in the first 9 seconds, that makes it. I've also heard a lot on the bad side, like, you know, this is a downfall of professional tournament fishing, and this is what it has come to. It's existed for 60 years. It just hasn't played out on social media before. I'm curious. Leave a comment, a message. Is this bad for the sport? Is it good for the sport? Is it indifferent? Is it too much negativity, or does it drive viewership? Does it create a rivalry? Is that what part of it is at the top level of competition? If you consider that lake the arena, should there be conflict in the arena? And should that conflict be public? Should it be played out privately? I don't think there's a right answer to it. There might be a right answer to it, but I don't see it as a bad thing. The way that it actually played out, I think it generated some interest. It made people pick sides. It is what it is. Like I said, Bobby Lane on BTL as of right now. So he's practicing for the Invitational. We had Bobby on after he'd made the decision to go back from the Bassmaster Opens, where he basically missed. He was one fish away from going back to the Elite Series, where he went back to the BPT. Wins the second event. It looks like his family was there on the bank cheering him on when he won $150,000. And awesome to see Mark Davis on. I'll reach out to Mark Davis, see if I can get him on BTL as well. Before we go, I do want to mention, I think it is time. So the Four Nations face-off in hockey, I think it is time for a one-off USA versus Canada, like 1996, like Canada Cup, the matches between the two. You look at the talent that is coming out of Canada on all levels. You look at the talent that you have in USA, where professional tournament bass fishing was born. And I think during the off season, a high stakes for the cup, for the bragging rights, the North American face-off between the top Canadians, Cooper, Gussie, the Johnstons, Polinick, Walters, Wheeler. Like, I mean, throw the top guys from each of them in, have some back and forth fisheries that take place over the week in Canada, in the United States, cameras in each boat, bragging rights on the line. I think that could be a really cool event. I know that, like I said, that they have Team USA Bassin right now that goes and competes against a myriad of different countries. The fact of the matter is that does not get the publicity that it should deserve, but it also And I'll say it does not include the best anglers from each country. There's some damn good anglers that compete on it from the United States, but it's not the top. It's not what we are seeing in this Four Nations hockey tournament. I would love to see that. I think that would be really cool. All right, we're going to fire the music. It's good to be back. Like I said, apologize for no shows last week. I was deathly ill for the whole week last week and was unable to record the shows, but we're back. We're going to throw in some additional shows this week, perhaps some evening shows, perhaps some one-off shows, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then Thursday, day 4 with Frank Scalish, immediately followed by Bobby Lane, Bobby the Beast live on BTL at 10 a.m. And other than that, that's all we got. A lot of live viewers on today. I want to thank Darold Gleason for jumping on before his golf tournament. I also want to thank Garrett Paquette, congratulate him on a second place finish in the Bassmaster Opens. Hard to believe he's been doing this 10 years, but it's also hard to believe this is the 21st year of BTL. That's all we got for today. If you're in one of the regions that's getting the weather, stay safe, stay warm. Same place, same time tomorrow. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.